Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Lawful Assembly. Hi, my name is Raghav. I'm the founder of the Mentorship Project. The aim of this project is to give you insights and where there is not a lot of knowledge. And we are excited to have with us Miss Harshita Choubey.
Firstly, thank you so much, Raghav, for having me on this podcast. As I said, I think the Mentorship Project is a great initiative, and I'm very happy to be a part of it. I am, as you said, I graduated from Harvard in 2023. I completed my LLM degree. Prior to that, I was a commercial litigator in Delhi with about 5 years of work experience. I graduated law school in 2017. I'm back to India now, and I'm very excited to continue working over here, litigating, which is my passion, and see how things go.
Wonderful. Amazing. So, Harshita, the very first question that people have when we talk about Ivy League colleges like Harvard, Cambridge, Oxford, the very first question is about the admission procedure. So, just consider as if I'm a first year student who has just entered law school and explain to me that how I can approach the admission procedure in a college like Harvard.
Right, understood. So first of all, I think the most valuable piece of information is to know that there are no admission competency tests like you have in India. We have the
Wonderful.
CLAT over here.
Yeah.
US has LSAT, but that's for the JD students. That's not something that we're required to take as international students.
Right.
Uh, so the only thing that we really need to prepare for is the admission materials. Now, the admission material consists of the admission application itself, which will be available to you on the website of Harvard. Uh, your CV, your resume, which is a part of the admission material, and your SOP. These are the three things that are absolutely crucial, along with your LORs, the four documents that you require when you're preparing for your admission.
All right. So if you can explain one by one, what is the relevance of this document and how one can go about preparing these documents?
Understood. So the first and most crucial aspect of your application is your statement of purpose. Your SOP is you telling the admission committee about yourself. It's your chance to tell the admission committee your story, why you think that you are a credible candidate for Harvard Law School, how you
Right.
can contribute to their community,
Right.
and to tell them what you've done so far, what you wish to do in the future, and how doing a Harvard LLM will help you in that process.
Right.
This is the most crucial document as per me. I can go into details about what the Harvard SOP looks like. If
Right.
Raghav, is that something that would be helpful?
Sure, sure.
Right. So the Harvard SOP is generally divided into two parts. Part A is a legal question.
Okay.
You're supposed to talk about a legal problem, either facing your country or a nation at large or any other region. And then you're supposed to ideate on a solution, give legal analysis on how one can confront and solve this problem.
Right.
Most Now you have options over here. For part A of your SOP, which is the legal problem bit, you can talk about any neat issue in law. Uh, or you can talk about some systemic issues which are a part of the legal system which you want to sort of work towards. These
All
are the
right.
two ways that people go. Both work, both are equally good. But make sure that the whatever you pick sort of ties up with your part B, which requires you to talk about yourself and what you want to achieve through an Harvard LLM.
Right.
So, for example, if part B is about how you are a tech lawyer and or you've been a corporate lawyer, try that part A is not about environment law or some
Oh,
issues in environment law because
right.
that just it sort of doesn't tie in and it doesn't like tie up the application together in a very wholesome manner. So that's the first advice. The second part, which is a very crucial part, is you telling the admission committee about yourself.
Hmm.
Here, most people and where people go wrong is they reiterate their CV. It's a statement of, oh, I did this, and when I was 5, I did this, and then at 8 years, I did this, and then in law school, I did this.
Hmm.
They know that. They know that from your CV. it should be different. You should use your statement to tell a story about yourself. Use your statement to explain to them why you're unique.
Hmm.
Why highlight portions about yourself which sort of which explain why you're good as a leader, or why you've done something different in your field, or how Harvard would help you in achieving an objective that you have.
Right.
These are some important points that you can cover in your SOP. The idea, again, is to highlight your uniqueness, your personality,
Hmm.
and to set you apart from other people. That's the idea
Right.
you should keep in mind.
Right. Right. So somebody who's there in a law school, so what are those things that person should have in mind if that person makes say an objective that at the end of 5 years, or maybe after 3 years of work X, that person wants to enter into Harvard, then what are some things that would help a law student to prepare when that person is in the process, that is in the process of studying law?
Right. Understood. So, Raghav, at least from my experience, I've understood that there is no strict formula or a
True.
one size fits all policy, and
True.
there is obviously no checklist that you can check
Right.
off
Right.
and sort of
Mhm.
hope that it works.
Absolutely.
Having said that, there are some non-exhaustive standards which I think would resonate with the admission committee. So,
Right.
first is have a steady academic background. That's needless to say. Try to maintain your grades throughout law school, because if you haven't done that, you'll have to expend extra effort into explaining why you haven't done well academically.
Right.
And don't think of doing well academically as being book smart. It tells the admission committee that you're consistent and you're
Right.
dedicated towards the study of law.
Hmm.
I think that's very important. So maintaining good grades is one. Extracurricular activities are also important. They can be legal activities like mooting or publishing articles or organizing seminars, etc., etc.
Hmm.
Seeing for your teachers. They could
Right.
be of legal nature, or they could be something completely non-legal like acting or modeling
Oh.
or
Hmm.
having your own I don't know, camping retreat or hosting yoga classes. It could be anything. And believe me, like
Hmm.
non-legal extracurriculars make you stand out like nothing else. So
Hmm.
don't think that because you don't have legal curriculars,
Right.
your application
Mhm.
is lesser than the others in any way. That's not
Mhm.
true. But go all out in
Wonderful.
showing that you have something unique about yourself,
Right.
and something that's fun.
Mhm.
That's another aspect that could be important. What else? What else? Again, if you've done anything in which you've emerged as a leader or which exhibits your leadership qualities, that is very well received by the
Right.
admission committee. Uh, so do try to, I don't know, captain your mooting team, or try to organize things in law school, take initiative.
Right.
That's
Right.
important, and that goes a long way.
Right. So in essence, just correct me if I'm wrong. In essence, your personality should not be one dimensional. It should portray that you have leadership qualities. And since you are a graduate of GNLU and we come from a place where only academic activities are given a lot of importance, so we do not realize that these activities also, like somebody who's great in sports. So I think this would also play to his benefit when he applies for it. I think.
100%. I was the captain of my basketball team, and I wrote a
Oh,
lot about it. Yeah, I had a
wonderful.
great time, and
Amazing.
I mean, I can't say with certainty if that resonated with the admission committee, but it told
Wonderful.
something about me.
Wonderful.
It told them that I took out time from my academic schedule to immerse myself in activities that give me happiness,
Wow.
and that says something about a person. So I
Great.
think it's important to let them know who you are,
Hmm.
and you can be whoever you want.
Wonderful. So,
Yeah,
if I have to sum this up, then the first thing is that what is non-negotiable is that you cannot be bad at your academics. You have to be good in your academic. There has to be limited benchmark that you have to follow. And apart from being good at your academics, there are some leadership skills which should be evident in your resume. Now, just coming to that, how hard is it for somebody who's there in the fifth year and he wants to apply for the Harvard immediately, the moment he graduates, the subsequent year he wants to apply for the, how hard is it for that person to ace this admission process?
I personally think that US-based schools, not just Harvard, but US-based schools are very interested in your work experience.
Okay.
So, in my personal opinion, it's not the best thing to do to
Hmm.
apply right out of law school. The reason is simple. For a lot of schools, people apply for an LLM because they want to set themselves out on this academic path where they've done their undergrad and they do their postgrad and they finally want to get into a PhD. Uh, which, if be the case, then doing an LLM right out of law school makes sense.
Right.
But I know that if you're looking for a job or if you truly want to assimilate your course materials at Harvard and truly assimilate the whole experience, having
Hmm.
WorkX really helps. And it's something that they also appreciate.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
So, and now coming over to this question, now that you have absolutely cleared that it is important to have a little bit of WorkX. So, what range of WorkX one should eye for when he intends to go for Harvard?
Oh, there's no specific criteria. I had about 5 years WorkX when I went. I had my batchmates who had 2 years of WorkX, 3 years of WorkX, some of them who had 10 years of WorkX.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so it's just it should really reflect when in your career trajectory you think an LLM will be important for you. It could
Hmm.
be for different purposes. You're doing a certain kind of a job, you want to pivot. You're doing commercial litigation, you want to
Right.
pivot to public interest work.
Hmm.
You
Correct.
think that an LLM would be a good way of pivoting.
Hmm.
You want to specialize in tech law,
Hmm.
and you want to come back to India and be a part of this
True.
new and exciting regime. You want to specialize. So it really, really depends on that. But going in with work experience helps to the extent that you are better able to appreciate
True.
the curriculum at law school, is my personal experience.
Okay. Okay. So, when somebody say has prepared for all these things, he has good grades or she has good grades, and now the work X is also of say 2 to 3 years. So, are there any resources available for somebody to prepare SOP or to prepare for these the segments that you told initially, that these are the questions which are going to be asked and you have to address a legal issue. So
Right.
how? Yeah.
Um, in terms of resources, I think it helps to speak with people who have been to the same university.
Right.
So definitely tap into your LinkedIn network and reach out
Mm.
to people and speak to them about their application experience, how they address these questions. Not no one no It's not like everybody looks at these questions in the same way. People have different
Right.
ways of attacking the questions and responding to them.
Mm.
And so it helps to speak to multiple people
True.
about their experiences and how they tackle these questions. So that's point number one. Point number two is you have multiple resources available online. Do make it a point to go through successful applications for
Mhm.
Harvard Law School.
Right.
You will find them online. There's a plethora available. You will see that most of them and the best ones tell a story.
Mm.
They tell a story about you. The idea is to grip the imagination of the adcom. The
Right.
idea is to make yourself seem interesting, is to sell
Mm.
yourself as an interesting individual. And so the idea is to weave an interesting story. And there are a lot of successful applications. When you go through them, you realize that that's the common thread running through most of them.
Mm.
That's the second resource you can really look at. The third resource would be, I would say, go through the website of whatever college you're targeting. Harvard has a very comprehensive website for its LLM students or prospective LLM students. Go through the course catalog. I will repeat, go through the course catalog. There are over 400 courses that Harvard offers. You need to tell the law school what courses you'd like to pursue or what's a broader area of study that you'd like to pursue.
Right.
If you've heard of a certain professor, Tell them about that. Tell them that you want to study this under this professor, and this is how it will help you achieve your goals and objectives. So do go through the course catalog. I cannot underemphasize the importance of that.
This is a very important piece
Uh,
of information, I think, for all our viewers and those aspirants who want to pursue LLM in Harvard, because generally, goal is that people are fascinated with the name, they are fascinated with the college, they might not be having clear idea about in what subject they want to pursue that course, and that is something that makes the difference. So I think this is the basic step, that is the first step that people should follow, and this is a wonderful piece of information Harshita has given to all of us, that go through the course catalog which is there are more than 400, I think, courses, if I'm not wrong, 400 courses
yes,
which are there, and then you realize it LLM is not just, a post graduation degree, it's something which adds value to you as a person and to your profession. So that becomes very, very important, that which course out of those 400 which will actually do that. So thank you so much, Harshita. This is very, very important. Not a lot of people talk about this, and as I said, this
yes.
will only come from somebody who has been there. So if I may ask that, which was the course that you opted for?
Uh, Again, so I was a commercial litigator, but I wanted to pivot to public interest work. So most
Wonderful.
of my courses were constitutional law driven.
Hmm.
I did the 14th Amendment, which is due process, and I did the First Amendment, which is freedom of expression. I did a course on remedies, which focused on remedies for litigators. When you go to court, the most important part of practice is to get the relief you want. And
Right.
so how do you decide that? I did the
Hmm.
negotiation workshop, which
Right.
is the flagship course, and it's such a beautiful experience. I think it's the best course the college has to offer. I had a
Right.
brilliant time.
Hmm.
A lot of people they go in for clinical courses. Clinical courses are courses which offer you practical experience. You actually get to go to prisons and speak to under trials, and you might get an opportunity to represent them. So they have an entire aspect of practical learning, which is also very fulfilling, and a lot of people go for that.
Hmm.
It's uh, it's a brilliant experience.
Wonderful. Amazing. So I think when we are opting for a certain course, this is, I think this part we might have covered when you were answering this, but for just for the clarity of our viewers, I would want to take this thing specifically, that for example, if you want to take up a course, it's always better that you have something, you have done something earlier, maybe in your internships, maybe during your college years, which will show or which will reflect your intention into action as to why you want to do this
Hmm.
course.
Right. That's actually a really good question, Raghav. Thank you for asking me that. Look, there are two kinds of trajectories that people have.
Right.
The first trajectory is that they've been doing something and they want to delve deeper into that very thing,
Right.
and so they want to specialize
True.
in a jurisdiction that's not India.
Right.
And so I'm a tech lawyer. I want to learn more about tech law in a jurisdiction where the regime is more sophisticated. So I
Hmm.
want to specialize. I'll pick tech law courses from my course catalog. That's a plain Jane, simple, straight path. For a
Right.
lot of people, much like myself, public interest litigation is not something that I have done, but it's
Hmm.
something that I'm very, very interested in. And it ties up with my long term goals,
Right.
which is, probably the judiciary, which is probably to start an organization
Wonderful.
which sort of advocates
Hmm.
for civil rights. So, for me, that's what worked. My long-term goals tied up with the courses that I wanted to do at Harvard, and I was using that as a way to pivot myself
Oh,
into my objectives. So these are the two trajectories that one can possibly have. You're either
right.
specializing in what you're already doing, or you're pivoting to something completely different. Both
Hmm.
work. Both work for your SOP. It's a misconception, and people fret. I've seen a lot of aspirants fretting about the fact that they're doing something that everybody has been doing. I'm an arbitration lawyer. There are some 50,000 arbitration lawyers in the country. So how do I distinguish myself?
Hmm.
Right? It doesn't make for a good story. It doesn't make for a good statement of purpose. don't worry about that. If you want to do something entirely different, go for it. And don't feel perturbed by the fact that you don't have much to show for it on your CV or your SOP or generally.
Wonderful. Amazing. So I think if I can say this, one should not have a very myopic view when they go
Yeah.
out for something like this. Even if they do not have something substantial to it, then also they can go for it. This is the I think which a college like Harvard offers. Coming over to the next question, somebody who is in the fourth year and that person has basically prepared his resume on the basis of the internship that person has done, like disputes, and now that person has a different interest altogether, but he has only 2 internship slots left. So what would you advise this person, that when that person is choosing course, whether it is prudent to go forward with something that aligned with what he has done, or something that he would want to do, say at this point of time, and he's not very sure about it? I know it's a very, very
Uh,
subjective question, but
no, no,
I think,
no.
yeah.
I understand that. That's a good
Mhm.
question. I would advise that you do a little bit of everything. This is your time to really use this experience to understand what fascinates and excites you. So instead of doing something that you already know and doing that repeatedly over and over again, try a course that you think you might be interested in. For example, one of the courses that I took was blockchain and fintech,
Oh,
because
wonderful.
it's something that I knew nothing about. And
Right.
it's something that I really wanted to learn. And
Right.
I thought, what better place to do that than Harvard Law School? And so, look, I didn't want to take up courses like contract law and I don't know, your regular
Right.
whatever commercial courses, company law, for example. Those are things that I know. Those are things that I've been practicing for however much time. Those are things that, and even for law students, those are things that I've studied in India and I know I'm good at. Uh, so I would use this opportunity to study those things and to build a deeper, better foundation for it. But I would also use this opportunity to learn something that I don't already know. And so I always advise people, take one course that excites you, that you
Right.
haven't learned in India before, that if you have to come back to India or if you choose to come back to India, you probably won't get a chance to delve deeper into it. So just do that and see how that works out for you.
Right. Means to go for Harvard because that person wants to work in US post Harvard Law School. So whether this factor that he or she wants to work in US will have any implication on the course, or should a particular type of course be opted by that person if this is one of the considerations?
Yes. Yes, I do think so. Firstly, I just want to start this answer off by saying that the US legal market is not very open to LLM students.
Right.
So, but having said that, I didn't mean to sound disheartening. Having said that, everybody I know who really, really wanted to stay back in the US and get a job was able to score one. How
Right.
did they do that? They did that by having a very clear idea about. They did courses on M&A drafting. They took up courses that sort of bolstered their CV and their resume.
Right.
Um, they could get recommendations from professors to their prospective employers. Professors are experts in the field. Their recommendations count. So if you want a job after your LLM in the USA or in any other part of the country except for India, you have to be very, very intentional about it from the very beginning. Design your courses in consonance with what you want to do after your LLM. Speak to relevant people in the field, graduates. Harvard has a very big cohort of alumni, which in every law firm, reach out to them, talk to them.
Right.
But yes, for the shorter question of how does your course matter for your prospective employment, yes, it does.
Right. So objectively speaking, that if one has to say would want to work in a corporate or wants to be a corporate lawyer in US, then if you can identify as per you what are one of such courses that person can go for.
Oh, there are so many, Raghav. There are courses on corporations. They're simply called corporations. There are courses on financial markets. There
Right,
are courses on M&A, deal structuring. There's a whole workshop called Deals, which is
right,
they teach you how to negotiate deals, etc.
right,
There's a negotiation workshop. These are the kind of courses. And again, you can pick and choose from this very, very wide array of courses within your field of interest that sort of pique your excitement. But make sure that they're in the realm, because look, you don't want to be applying to become an M&A lawyer with a firm and have human rights courses on your LLM coursework, right? That
right,
it doesn't make sense, because I mean it's a question your employer is going to ask you.
right.
But within you even within corporate law, you will have at least 200 courses to choose from. So you can pick
Mhm.
whatever piques your interest.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right. So, another question is that about the timeline of application, as to when does it start and how much time does it take? When is the shortlisting process? If you can guide us a little about it.
It changes every year, but typically it's the applications are due in December first week or November end week. So one should definitely start preparing. If you want to prepare in a relaxed manner, one should start preparing your application materials by May end. That's a
Okay.
good time to sort of start ideating. SOPs take time to write. You'll have many, many drafts before you can settle on one.
Right.
Uh, so end May is a good time to start
Right.
drafting. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And now coming over to your experience being in the law school, how was it? Because as I understand your trajectory, that first you were a student and then you became a lawyer, you worked for 5 years, and again there was an experience of altogether new experience of being a student in the most one of the most prestigious law schools in the world. So how was it?
I loved every second of it. I think I had the most incredible 1 year at Harvard Law School.
Hmm.
It's academically rigorous. Uh, your coursework is rigorous. A lot of people think that LLMs are going to be a break from your very
Right.
hectic work schedule. It's not a break. I mean, it's a break in a way, but it's not a break. It's academically rigorous. Your schedule is very demanding. It's socially hectic because you're surrounded by people from all across the world. Harvard has representation from over 100 countries. And just being around that kind of diversity, you're so excited to talk to people
Right.
about their backgrounds, their cultures, and it's so much fun exploring that. Um, Plus, they keep you really busy. They organize a lot of socials for you. They make sure that you're having the best time. And I think I feel very academically fulfilled. I've done 5 years of law school in India, and while we have a very lecture-based method where teachers come in and they give their lectures, and I'm
Right.
sure that's engaging and fulfilling in some ways.
Hmm.
You learn something if you want to. I think the academic curriculum at Harvard is it's so enriching because you go to class prepared. They have a Socratic method where teachers engage with you, professors engage with you through arguments and through questions and through a dialogue. And I think that's so important to legal education.
True.
That by itself is a beautiful experience. And I enjoyed going to class. I just enjoyed being in class. I loved waking up in the morning. I was excited about my classes. I was excited about what I was going to learn. And I think that's something that one should experience if they can and if they want to.
Wonderful. So there's one more thing that I wanted to ask. It's not that I'm trying to bash the Indian legal system or something, but I wanted to know that what are the key differences that you found? Because again, you are not somebody who's coming from a traditional law college. When you were pursuing law in India, then also you were pursuing it from one of the best law colleges in India, GNLU. So what were some of the key differences that you found, which was sort of having a liberating experience when you went there in Harvard as compared to when you were studying in GNLU?
Um, right. So first of all, we were given our study material in advance of our classes. So we were expected to go prepared to classes. We were expected to, and that just makes the class that much more enriching because you're not receiving information from the first time. You've read it. The teachers are just helping you absorb your material better. That's
Right.
one thing. Second, you're not expected to take the legal text for its face value
Hmm.
and just accept that to be the truth. You can challenge legal proceedings. You can challenge why a statutory provision has been framed a certain way.
Right.
Uh, you don't have to accept that section XYZ of blah 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 legislation says this and then you blindly apply it. No. I just found those things very, very interesting. I'm not saying that the Indian legal system is sort of doesn't cater to that.
Right.
I think it's just developed differently, and there's a lot that you can get out of that system also if you so
Hmm.
desire as a student. Uh, but I found the structure of my LM classes very fascinating. It was new for me, and I loved the ongoing dialogue between teachers and students. I think dialogue is the best way to learn law.
Hmm.
Even as professionals, we're constantly brainstorming ideas. We're constantly brainstorming strategy, what to say in court, how to I don't know formulate a deal, and I think that's a very key component of legal education that you get to take with you as a professional. It's a key
Right.
takeaway, and it's something that you can imbibe in your legal personality. And
Absolutely.
I love that aspect. I love
Hmm.
that aspect. Exams were open book and yet so difficult because even with an open book exam, they were all application based. So you had to spend a lot of time thinking on what law would apply and you could access it. But it was all application based. It was logical. You weren't expected to memorize legal texts and write theoretical answers.
Hmm.
And that was also, I truly enjoyed that aspect also.
That's a fair point I think you made, because that sums up our education system as such, because there is no system I haven't seen apart from our bar examination. There is any system of open book examination. Basically, right from the beginning, when we were in school, we had to memorize things. It wasn't like whether you understood the concept or do you actually care about what this person said. It was
Yeah,
like, this is what person said and this is how you have to
yeah,
memorize it and reproduce in the law school, in school as such. In law school it wasn't any different as such. So I think this is one perspective that people should take, irrespective of the fact whether you are there in Harvard or not. It is important to understand, it is important to question things, it is important that you do not accept the status quo as such, because that is how we'll improve and that is how we'll develop, I think, mature perceptions while
100%.
adopting this I think the formula which Harvard, I think, has given you, because now you'll, once you have gone there, I think you see things in different perspective. This is how you
Oh,
see things
100%.
wherever you are.
100%.
There's one more very important question, and I get this question a lot from students, that whether law school matters. It's absolutely fine that grades matter, publication matter, extracurricular activities matter. Whether law school matter in India. See, if you are coming from a traditional law school and you are applying and
Hmm.
you are having all these things, whether a person is having an edge if that person is coming from, say, a top-notch NLU, and there's another person who's coming from a traditional college or a private college. What is your view about this?
It's hard to say, Raghav. Look, if I was to talk about the demographics of the Indian cohort in my batch,
Right.
unfortunately, for whatever reason, most of them were NLU students.
Okay.
But then some of them were non-NLU students as well.
Okay.
Uh,
Hmm.
So I was talking about those non-exhaustive sort of
Correct.
standards that resonate with adcoms. Now, they're not a standard formula, but
Hmm.
definitely being from top 10 Indian universities says something about you as a
Right.
student, right? It says that you prepared for a competitive exam, you excelled in that competitive exam. So it shows academic consistency,
Hmm.
but they're not they're not sort of opposed to looking at a very good profile from a non-top 10 institution.
All right. Great.
He will judge your
Great.
application for its individual merits.
Amazing. So it's not something that, so if somebody is not from a top NLU, doesn't mean that doors of Harvard, they are closed for that person.
Not
Right.
at all, not at all. And something that I learned during my application process and from my peers was that don't discount yourself while during the application process. Don't tell yourself that, okay, this is something that does not work in my favor or I'm losing out on points for XYZ reasons. Don't discount yourself. Give them the best story.
Right.
Give them your authentic, unique, exciting story. That's all that counts. That's the most important thing. They need to know they need to know you as a candidate. It doesn't matter if your background is not as illustrious as the background of somebody else. You still have a chance if you have a better story.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So I think this was amazing. I think you covered most of the questions that a student or a law student has, and particularly insights. These are not general things which are available there on the internet. And on a lighter note, by the way, I wanted to ask this question: that do you take pride in knowing the fact that Spectre Litt only hires from Harvard?
uh, it's funnily enough, back in ninth grade when I had this dream, it was because of Suits.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, so that life sort of came a full circle.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
So was your favorite character Harvey Specter or Mike Ross?
Harvey Specter.
Harvey Specter, of
He has
course.
so much class.
Of
He's so
course.
good looking. Hard to dislike him. But no, Raghav, just I'm sorry to circle back from your lighter
Yeah, sure, sure.
note to
Sure, sure.
something academic again. I think I
Sure.
missed out this point about the bar exam,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
I
of course.
just
Yeah. Right.
which I just would really like for students to know about.
Yeah, because even I wanted to ask this question because generally in India, I don't know if you know this, you might know this, that people take bar exam very, very lightly and it's not that tough. So when we talk about bar exam and we compare it with Indian context, I would like to know your perspective and I would like you to give true perspective to the students out here because I think it's a big deal out there.
Yeah, it's a difficult exam. I hated studying for it. It kicked all the energy out of my body. All the excitement of graduating from Harvard died because I had to sit with my heavy New York law bar books. But it's very essential that people know this. If you're doing an LLM with the objective of getting a job in the US, you will have to give the bar exam of whatever state. The UBE is the Uniform Bar Exam. Um, Typically, people take the New York bar or the California bar. They're the most popular destinations. They're difficult exams, and your employers would want you to clear the exam.
Right.
You don't have to clear it prior to your employment, but the continuance of your employment would be subject to you clearing the bar exam. So keep that in mind. If you think that an LLM is a way for you to break into the American legal market, I just want you to know that there are other things that come with it, and the bar exam being the most important thing.
All right. So, once somebody decides that he would want to end up in the legal market, which is there in US, and that person is pursuing LLM from, say, Harvard, then is it possible for that person to clear the exam while pursuing LLM there, or is it
No,
post? It's not,
it's
right?
post. One of the criteria that they require is an LLM degree from a US based school if you're an international student, which we are.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Great, great. Any last words for our aspirants?
Just be super confident. I know a lot of people who simply don't apply. When I was applying, I thought to myself, why should I waste time over applying to Harvard? I can dedicate that time to apply to another university where I have a better shot. And then I remembered my ninth grade dream about going to Harvard Law School. And I was like, no, I'll just apply and I'll see where life takes me. A lot of people have a tendency to discount themselves because they think that they're not. But I think that it's criminal to discount your own potential, because the world will be doing that to you all the time anyway. So
Right.
you have to think that you're a star
Mhm.
and just go all out. Show the adcom that you are truly a unique,
Absolutely.
talented candidate, and if you see it, they'll see it too. So
Absolutely.
just be
Absolutely.
confident about it and go ahead and apply.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Harshita, for this wonderful, insightful session. And I know for a fact that there are so many people, so many students, so many professionals who will be getting a lot of new insights, a lot of relevant insights. And maybe after a year or so, we might get a message thanking you that it was because of this session that they got into Harvard. And even if we get some sort of question, I know that you'll be happy to answer them if we get some question from our mentees.
Yes, 100%. Please feel free to share my email ID, and you can ask them to reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the wonderful session.
Thank you so much for
You all
having
the
me,
best.
Raghav.
Thank
Happy,
you so much.
happy to be a part of it.
Great. Thank you so much.